Pawan.
Yeah. Hi everyone. So my name is Pawan. Totally, I am having 5 years experience in IT. So currently, I am working in digital middleware technology. That's it. Thank you.
Hello, good morning everyone. Myself P. Niharika. I'm currently pursuing my 4x4 BTech in Elur at CRIT College of Engineering. Thank you.
Ramesh.
Yeah, hi, good morning. This is Ramesh. I'm from Hyderabad. I have 5 years experience in assistant professor in engineering colleges. Now I'm looking for job change.
I can say one more person. By the name of Sangu or something. Yeah, Muddasir, you can go ahead.
Yeah. Hi everyone. Welcome to this demo on data engineering and cloud, Azure Cloud. So let me start with the basics, okay, about the data engineering and also the Azure Cloud. Let me share my screen.
Yeah, it's visible.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah. So so what is cloud? So this is one type of service where we can get the computing service over the internet. Okay. So for example, let's say you watch OTT, right? So you pay for what you get. So whatever you watch, you are watching it over a subscription, right? In the same way. So it is a subscription based model. Okay. Cloud. So with the help of the cloud, what you can do, you can use the services of a particular company. Okay. So for example, let's say you have a big company. Okay. So you have a large amount of data. So where do you store the data? So you use cloud databases. Okay. So you have to purchase the databases and you have to store your data. Okay. So what about the so storage? You can store it in files or database. So there are two types of services. Okay. You can store the data in the database or in files. Okay. It depends upon the use case that you use. Okay. So that is a storage. So what about the computer power? Okay. So you might be running applications. Okay. So what is the basis of the business? For example, if you're running a business, you need applications. Where does those applications run? It runs on VMs, virtual machines. Virtual machines are nothing but computer systems. Okay. So they have OS. Okay. And they have servers. So on that top of the server, your application will run. Okay. That is a computing power. And networking is like communication between different virtual machines. And analytics is uh, uh, so analytics is very important part of a business. Okay. So whatever business that you run, you have to analyze the data of that business. So that's why whatever so Azure is a combination of different cloud services. Okay. So you can see these are the top most cloud services in the market. One is Azure, second is Google Cloud Platform, and third is Amazon Web Services. So these companies, they are selling these services, storage, compute, networking, analytics services to you, okay, over a subscription, so that they can use it. Okay, let me show you. Uh, as part of this session, right, we will focus only on Azure Cloud and data engineering. So remaining cloud services, yeah, you can avoid for this session. Okay, so let me focus on Azure Cloud. Mm, so whatever services that you can use, just you have to go to the portal.azure.com. Okay, So as you can see here, yeah, here you can see a lot of resources, right? So you
Yes.
might not be knowing this, okay, but so each and every service has some use, okay. So it depends upon the use case, you have to use it. So for example, let's say app services. So app services is not nothing but you can create an applications in the services. Here you can create one virtual machine here. So you can, if you want to store data, you have to create a SQL database here. So these are all the examples of what I'm saying, okay. Let me go to the next slide. Yeah. So what are the key components of cloud? So the first thing, the important part of cloud is, so whatever that you use, cloud that you use, first you have to check whether this the cloud has these components, okay. So first, if you are going for Azure or AWS or anything, first you need to check all these features, okay. So whether it supports scalability. Scalability is nothing but, so you for example, you say you want 10 VMs, okay. So you should have a power to uh, get those resources, okay, and also delocate those resources. So for example, if you need 10 VMs, you can purchase it, and if you don't want the 10 VMs, you can delocate the resource at any time. You should have that feature, okay. So otherwise it is a waste of time. So second is elasticity, okay. So for example, you are using Hotstar, right? You watch cricket over Hotstar. So how does see, a lot of users will watch that match, right? So how many systems they can provide? Means there should be a lot of servers, right, in order to scale the demand, okay. So it should auto scale, okay. For example, if 100 users are watching, it might need any 2 servers, okay. So if crore people are watching, so how many servers do you need? So based on the usage, that servers should scale up, okay. So that is elasticity. And agility, so agility is like ability to react fast, means uh, should allocation of resources and deallocation of resources should happen quickly. So even if it should not take much time to scale up, okay. And what is a fault tolerance? uh, so it should be maintain uptime, okay. Whatever it happens, okay, it should not impact. So um, you might be seeing a lot of the applications crash, right? So when a lot of load is there, when a lot of people watch or a lot of people are using, it means that it has a fault tolerance and a disaster recovery. So disaster recovery is nothing but so for example, you have a lot of you assume that you have a big business, okay. So you have servers across the continent, okay. So if one server fails, okay, so everything, your data will be lost. So this should not happen, okay. What is a disaster recovery? Store your same data in different multiple parts of same content or multiple parts in the globe, so that if one server fails in India, so other server in other country, it should be up, so that we can take the data from there, okay. So that is disaster recovery. So what about the high availability? So system should be always up, okay. So for example, let's say you purchase any service in Azure, you are using any service, it should be 99.99% available to you. So if it is not available, then it is not a good system. Even Microsoft has SLA that it should be available, it will be available for 99% of time. So these are all the key components that Azure cloud has, okay. So next is a capital expenditure and operational expenditure. So what is the capital expenditure? So so I have already said, right, it is a subscription based model, okay. So when you are purchasing a subscription, you can purchase there are 2 types of subscriptions, okay. One is pay as you go, and second is paying upfront costs. Means for 2 or 3 years you can make a contract with them, okay. and users will be locked to you. Okay. Um, yes. So if you choose pay as you go, so so for example, let's say you have used a certain amount of data in this month. Okay. Certain amount of usage. So depending upon the usage, it will cost. Okay. So that is a operational expenditure. Capital expenditure is nothing but, so when you are purchasing any server, they will have some contract. Okay, so if you use 3 years, there will be reduction in total amount. Okay, it is same as insurance policy, right? So if you can also so there will be a lock-in period, right? So 3 or 4 years, if you can purchase one insurance, if you increase the contract period, the amount premium will be less. In the same way, if you choose capital expenditure, if you pay upfront costs, the per day cost will be very less. I hope everyone is clear.
Yes.
Okay. Next is we will discuss about advantages and disadvantages of cloud. Okay. So what is advantage and disadvantage? Okay, what is lower computer costs? So why there is lower computer costs? So for example, if you have a company, so if you want to have a let's say you have 1 petabyte of data, so where do you store that data? So you don't have enough systems, right? You have to deploy one. You have to purchase one building or something. You have to deploy the servers, you have to put the system, and you have to maintain the OS. Okay, and you need to there should be engineers to update all those operating system, all those things, right? So this is all the headache for maintenance. Okay, so if you use cloud, right, you just have to it is like UI, so where you can purchase, you don't have to maintain the physical servers or physical machines. Okay, so that's why the computer cost will be very low. And the second is improved performance. The performance will be always good in the Azure or any cloud. Okay, and third is reduce software costs. So you don't have to install a software, you don't have to pay for the license. Okay, you don't have to regularly update. Okay, everything the Azure will take care of all these things: software updates, patches, upgradation, versions, everything they will match, they will take care. And systems also, they will have a separate data centers where they will maintain all the VMs or machines. And third is and the next is unlimited storage capacity. So they have they can, we can store unlimited amount of data in their petabytes, okay, exabytes of data. So there is no limit on data capacity. And next is increased data reliability. Okay, so so data will be always reliable. Okay, you can trust on it. Okay, and third is and last next one is universal document access. So you can access any kind of format or any kind of file here in the cloud. Latest version availability, it means that you will have always the latest versions of softwares installed in Azure. Okay, so whatever VM you download, so they will have maintain a latest versions. Easier group collaboration. So so if you multiple teams are working on same project. Okay, so in order to collaborate between those projects, we have Azure DevOps. Okay, so with that there is a group collaboration. Okay, everyone will work on their code and make their changes. Okay, so those things will happen. And device independence. So so it works on any operating system. Okay, you can open this Azure cloud or any cloud in any device. So what are the disadvantages? So you need a constant internet connection. So if you don't have the internet, it won't work properly. And also you should have a high speed internet. With a low speed internet, some of the features will be disabled. Okay, and the main drawback of cloud is the data is not secure. So that is the only problem in cloud. So the stored data, so you can download means you can create your virtual network, and you can create applications on the top of that. Still, whatever operation that you do, so it will first go to Azure and then it will come to your company, okay, your company's network. So it is not that much secure because of third party. So whatever request that we make, it will first go to Azure and then it will go to our virtual network. So that is the only disadvantage we have. So next is let's discuss about the cloud service model. This is a very important thing. Okay, so this will help us understand what is the difference between the private cloud and the normal the vendor cloud, whatever that we use. Okay, so in before 10 years back, so everyone used to have their on premises. Okay, so in the on premises, as I already said, if you want to have a business, if you want to run any business, if you want to create any applications, first you have to do all these things. And the left hand side, if you can see on premises, you should have data and access. You have to maintain your own data. Okay, that is okay, we can maintain. What about the applications? We can create, we can hire some developers, we can create applications. And what is a runtime? So runtime is the version of the server. Okay, whatever server that you are running. Operating system, so which operating system that you are working. And virtual machines are nothing but computers. Okay, and what about compute? So whatever that you data that you store, you are processing that data, so that is called compute. And what is storage? So you are storing a huge amount of data, right? So where do you store the data? In the databases, right? So all these things you are doing on your own. So you have to maintain one data center. In that data center, you have to do all these things. You have to take care of each and everything. So operating system, if there any update, if there is an update in operating system, you have to download it. If there is any patch, you have to apply it. You have to create applications. You have to create clusters. Okay, so on that clusters, the data will be processed. Okay, clusters clusters are which are the machines on which the data will be processed. And storage is like storage is a device where you can store amount of data. So all these things you have to do on your own. Then let's come to the cloud models. Okay, on the next you can see these are all the important terms. Okay, infrastructure as a service, platform as a service, software as a service. Okay, the first is infrastructure as a service. In this infrastructure as a service, they won't give you so cloud provides only compute, networking, and storage. So remaining things you have to maintain. So what are the things? For example, let's take you have everything, right? You have applications, you have data and access, virtual machine, and operating system. So these things you have to maintain. And compute, networking, and storage, the cloud will provide. Okay. Next is platform as a service. So platform as a service, data and access and applications you have to create. So rest everything cloud will provide. So let's take an example. Okay. If you say Logic App is one of the application in Azure. Okay. So everything it will provide. Okay. Runtime, operating system, virtual machine, it will give. You just have to create that application on the top of that. So user has to log in, they have to create an application, that's all. So that is a platform as a service. In infrastructure as a service, if you see, you have to create an applications, and also you have to create your own virtual machine. You have to log into your application. Okay, then you have to create a virtual machine, and you have to select OS. What is this OS you want? Windows you want, Unix you want. So whatever operating system you want, you have to create your own, install the own operating system. And you should have a separate machine to support that application. So everything you have to maintain, but only to process the data and to store the data, they will give you a database. That's all. So that is the difference between infrastructure and platform. Okay. Next, last one, important one is software as a service. So they will give you entire software. So the cloud will give the software to you. You just have to go to that software and you have to store the data. That's all. Everything it will give. So you don't have to maintain anything. You just have to log in. For example, let's say Word, okay, Microsoft Word. So what does it give? So application software it is giving you. You just have to enter whatever things that you need, Excel or something, right? Excel or Word. So you are just entering the data and you are saving. That's all. That is the data and access. So remaining applications, what is application? It has created an application called Word. It is stored somewhere. You just are using it. Operating system, virtual machine, compute, everything they will manage. The cloud will manage. So this is one of the example that I am giving. So these are all the different types of cloud models. So you should always remember this cloud model: infrastructure as service, platform as service, software as service. So if you see here, if you go from bottom to top, administration is being lowered. Okay. So if you go to the right side of the graph, okay, you have the lower administration. So if you go to the top, software as service, it has a lower administration. So you don't have to do much anything. And if you go below that software as service, there is a platform as service, and then next infrastructure as service, and then on-prem. Okay, so on-prem, as you can see, it has the highest administration. Okay, so your time and energy is wasted there, and also cost is also more. Yeah, next come to the data engineering. What is the data engineering? So everybody, as you can see, you might be hearing these words, right? Data scientist, data engineering, all these things. What is data engineering? So data engineering is nothing but, so data engineering are those people who build pipelines, okay, to transform the data into the formats which the business uses or data scientist uses. So we serve for data scientists and also business users and also normal users. So let's take any example. Let's take ICICI Bank. So what are all the who are the end customers for that? They are the users. So who is the account holders? They are the users. So they are using the application. They are using internet banking. They are using Payzap. Different type of applications that you use, right? So whatever applications that you use, so those are all the end goal for data engineers. So they are building data for that for the users, so that they can, users and business users, they can use this data to do analysis or to log into the application and transact. Okay, so so what exactly they do? What do you mean by pipeline? Okay, so I will tell you in the next slide what is a pipeline. So see, these are all the important things in the data engineering. First is big data. Okay, so so now so 10 years back or 15 years back, we don't have the capacity to process the huge amounts of data. Okay, so max to max we used to process 1 TB of data. Right now, so YouTube, if you see Google, YouTube, and different Facebook, right? So how much amount of data that application generates? So it is like uncomparable. So how do you process that huge amount of data? So it is through big data. Okay, so tools and technologies of big data enables us to process huge amounts of data. Okay, so big data is a key component in data engineering. Second is ingestion. Okay, so what is ingestion? So so business users use different kind of reports or dashboards, everything. Okay, so you need to segregate data from multiple resources. Okay, so you have to connect to different sources and you have to ingest the data into the cloud, so that data engineers can analyze, they can extract the data, they can extract the meaningful insights, they can do analytics on the top of that, and they will provide their analysis to business users. So in that, the first step is ingestion. Okay, next is processing. Okay, so what do you mean by processing? So processing is nothing but getting the data in a meaningful way. Okay, so let's say the source is file system. Okay, so one application is creating thousands of files every day. Okay, and business user wants exactly how many users are active. He wants to know. Okay, so let's say any bank. Okay, so one business user, he comes to a data engineer and he asks the data engineer, okay, so this is my source system and it has a number of files, hundreds of files coming every day, and I want number of customers or account holders who are active, okay, on transactions. So how you will do? So you have to first ingest the data, right? You have to ingest all the files in the cloud. Okay, that is the first step. And next step is processing. So how do you process that data, that files? So you use big data tools and technologies, okay, in order to transform that file data into the database table. Okay, so if you put all the data into a table and transform in the required format, okay, and you have to build a tables and you have to query those tables in order to understand the data. Okay, that is a processing. And storage, I have already told you. So storing is nothing but a file or a database where you store the data. So what is analysis? So how do you do the analysis? Analysis is you can do with the different types of tools. You can do it with Excel. You can do with Power BI. Okay, you can do it with Tableau. Okay, there are different types of analysis tool where you want to understand the business. And the next is access. You have to access the data and you have to give the access to certain amount of business users so that they can use and analyze the reports. So these are all the key components of data engineering. Okay, as you can see here, if you see this page, there are different types of sources. Social media. You take Facebook, Instagram, all those things, and sensors. If you nowadays traffic is also using sensors. Those data you can get. You can get the data from web databases, devices, user applications, GitHub, file systems, mobile applications. Okay, different types of sources are there from. So Azure has a capability to connect with any kind of sources. Okay, it can connect with any kind of source, and we have to ingest it, and whatever data that we are ingesting, we have to just transform and then load. So we have to transform the data. So here the file system is there, right? Different types of data is here in the source. So here in this next step, what you will do is you are transforming the data into a specific format which are used by business users. Okay, you have to transform the data, you have to load it and transform data, and how the business users are using this data, it is with the help of dashboards and apps. Okay, so next is these are all the components of Azure cloud. Okay, so first let me explain you each and everything. So there are different types of sources. One is log, one is media, and one is files business. Okay, let's take logs. Okay, so how the logs are generated? Let's take you are using any application. Okay, so that application creates lots of logs. Okay, so those logs are also stored somewhere. Okay, so this is meant by logs. Next is media. So media is like let's take any Amazon, Netflix, or anything, right? So it has videos, right? So videos are stored in somewhere in the servers or databases, right? So this is called media. And what about the files? You might be having Excel files or everything, right? So those files are called files. Next is a business or custom apps. So you might be using internet banking, Google Pay, Phone Pay, all this, right? So these are all the custom apps. So Azure has a capability to connect with any kind of sources. So we have the ingestion tool, which is called Azure Data Factory. So this is a very important tool. As part of data engineering, I will start with Azure Data Factory because it is very, very easy to learn. It has doesn't have much coding. Okay, they are predefined pipelines and connectors with which you can connect with sources and you can ingest the data. Okay, so that is called Azure Data Factory. So it is a ingestion tool. Okay, basically ingestion tool. And second is Azure Data Lake Storage. So data lake storage, it is nothing but the file based format. Means you can store any kind of file, any kind of video, audio, image, anything, any type, say any kind of a JSON, XML, Excel, CSV, every kind of file you can store in Azure Data Lake. So what is the important step? Why we are storing the data? You can store the data, petabytes of data here in the data lake. Okay. Next is this is a storage. Okay, data lake is a storage tool. And next is data warehouse. Okay, so Azure SQL data warehouse, what it will do? So warehouse is nothing but the combination of all the data in one area. Okay, so and next is Databricks. Okay, so Databricks is nothing but it is a processing tool. Cosmos DB, it is also a processing tool, but if you want to access the data within milliseconds, you use Cosmos DB. Okay, so we will go in detail. Okay, so you might be new to this all this terminologies, but in the next classes so I will explain in depth about each and every tool. But just remember that this Power BI, it is a dashboarding tool, this is a processing tool, this is a storage tool, and it is a ingestion tool. Just remember that. Okay, yeah. Next, so what are the skills that you want for data engineering? So everyone, so who are in this session, right, so they should know the SQL. Okay, so if they are unaware of that, I will take another session, okay, to understand SQL, because SQL is a 70%. Okay, we'll use SQL in data engineering. Okay, next is data modeling. You should have basic understanding of data modeling. Okay, and ETL. So ETL is our BI. It is just you should have understanding of how to extract this data from source, how to transform and how to load. Okay, so this is ETL. So you should have basic understanding of ETL and data modeling, and you should understand. You should have strong knowledge on, strong grip on Azure tools. Okay, that is very important. So ability to connect the dots from source to destination. So you should understand what is the source, what is the destination. So what are the tables in the source, what are the files that we have in the source. So those things you should understand properly. Next is Azure. So you should have understanding of Azure services. And next is Python. Okay, so you should have any one coding language. It might be Python, it might be Scala, it might be Java, it might be C, anything. So you have to learn at least one programming language. That is compulsory for data engineering. So just to summarize, you should have understanding on, you should have strong skills on SQL, you should know one coding language, and you should have a good understanding on Azure services. Okay, just let me explain you what is the main components in Azure data engineering. Okay, so everything storage, right, it is divided into two types. So one is non-relation and another is relational. Okay, so what is the difference between relational and non-relational? So relational storage is like you can store the data in the tabular formats. Okay, in this form of tables, SQL tables. So I hope everyone is aware of tables, right? SQL tables. No issues. Even if you don't know, just assume that databases consist of tables. So those have the tables. Those are called relational. So if the storage services doesn't have the tables, it means that it might be having files. Okay, it might be having videos, it might be having images. So those are all called non-relational logs, right? So it is not a structured format. If it is tables are a structured format, it has columns, it has rows. Okay, and non-relational, they are just images, videos, logs, etc. They don't have proper structure. Okay, Let me move to the next slide. Next is, so we have already discussed about storage. What are the important storage devices, tools, relational and non-relational. So these are all the non-relational services, and these are all the relational services. So next is processing. So processing is nothing but how to get the data. So that is storage. So how to store the data. This is how to process the stored data. There are three different tools where you can process the data. One is Azure Data Factory, next is Azure Databricks, next is Stream Analytics. Okay, so Azure Data Factory, it will connect with sources, and it will load into the destination. And Databricks is like processing tool where it will use clusters. Where we can use clusters to process the data. It will be very speed, even with petabyte of data, terabyte, take any amount. Okay, so with the proper cluster configuration, you can process the data in milliseconds, okay, with the help of Azure Databricks. So if suppose you want to read 1 terabyte of data, how much time it will? It will take a lot of time if you use the old tools. So if you use Azure Databricks, it will take milliseconds to get the data. Okay, Stream Analytics is like with the help of Stream Analytics, you can analyze or process live data. So what do you mean by live data? So you watch OTT, right? So whatever movie, right, video, images, all those things, so it will be stored somewhere in different continent. So how we are able to watch each and every update and each and every video frame, right, in a milliseconds? So it is because of tools like Stream Analytics, which will get the live data from the servers, so that you can watch your movie without any buffer or any issues. Okay, so this is kind of a live processing tool. So what are the skills? As part of Azure Data Engineering, you need to cover this certification. You need to crack this certification, DP 203. It is optional, but first you have to get understand all the concepts. Okay, so if you crack this certification, it will be good for you. Okay, if you're doing any job change or it will be beneficial to you to understand the basic concepts, and also in order to showcase your profile, right? So it will be very useful. So these are all the topics that you have to learn. Okay, you should have understanding on data storage, data processing, data security, and you need to optimize whatever that you do. Okay, so these are all the things that will be covered as part of DP 203. Okay, I hope everyone is clear. So if you have any doubts, just let me know. I will clarify. So if you don't understand any concept which I have explained, you can ask me right now.
So actually, in the Azure DevOps, right? So we are covering both the data engineering and Azure related things, right? So majorly, which component will be having heavier weightage?
So if you want to understand the data engineering, you should have understanding on Azure Data Factory. So and Data Factory and Databricks. So these two things are very important. Okay.
Okay.
So I will cover most of the topics in these two components because they are very important. So
Yeah.
in our daily use, we have to use. Okay, so data engineer has to use, and data lake also you should have an understanding where the files are stored, all those things. And the data warehouse also, you need to create the tables, you need to analyze all those things. Okay, so these tools are very important. So especially Azure Data Factory and Databricks, Databricks is very important tool. If you are getting into the coding, right?
Yeah.
Databricks is very important. And if you are building pipelines, you should focus on Data Factory. So two are simple things, you can learn it.
Okay. And one more thing, if I want to take a subscription, so generally it will give 30 days, 50 days subscription.
Yeah.
With respect to that, we can't able to everything, right? Because they are giving some points of tips. If we have utilized in the initial lesson, it will cover complete everything. So if I want to take a subscription with the minimum amount, so what will be the subscription we have?
You can use a free trial subscription because so if you use your own pocket, right? Sometimes if you don't disable the machine, okay, so it will your credit card will be charged. Okay, or how many So for example, let's say you have forgot to stop the machine. Okay.
Okay.
And after 2 days, you came and you have seen that you have not stopped. So for those 2 days, it will charge you.
Okay.
Okay, your entire credit card bill, it will rise. Okay, so it is not a good idea. So I think you are practicing, right? So create a Gmail accounts. Okay.
Okay.
So when you are whenever you want to practice, just create one Gmail account. Give any credit card or debit card info. Okay. So
Okay.
it will be there for 30 days. Again, if it is expired, create another Gmail account and just use it. Okay.
Okay.
That is the best way to do if you are learning. Okay. Don't use
Uh,
money from your pocket. Yeah, that's what.
yeah, I got your point, but only thing is in the trial version we can't able to get away option, right? Sometimes it may be restriction. So in
Yeah, yeah.
that
So,
would be available for that reason.
yes. Okay, okay. So if you want to practice, then you can create. Okay, subscription you have to create. I will show you. Okay.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Any questions, Ramesh?
No.
Okay. Niharika
No.
and Somshekar.
Yeah, I have a question.
Yeah, please.
Hadoop was using in this session, Azure Data Engineering or not? I want to know.
Hadoop. So I can cover the basics. You don't have to understand the complete Azure Hadoop concepts. Okay. Just
Yeah.
basic concepts I will cover, like Spark, right? Spark is very important
Yes.
tool. Okay. So data engineering. So Spark is a base, like SQL. Spark is one of the is the basis for this one. So now entirely we olden days we used to have Hadoop tools, number of Hadoop tools like MapReduce, all those things. Okay. So right now Spark has almost replaced all those tools. So it is better to understand the Spark. I will cover a basic on MapReduce also. Okay.
Okay.
So basic I will cover, but we will focus mostly on Azure services only. Okay.
Yeah.
So will you cover in the Azure? Will you cover administration and fundamentals also? Like
Yes.
those will also
Yeah.
cover. Or,
Yeah. Azure fundamentals I will cover because you won't understand it. If you
yeah.
yeah. Yeah.
What,
So
what,
first I will cover fundamentals and then I will go into each and every component. Okay.
okay. Okay. Sure. What about the administration? Administration.
Administration, I guess you don't need, because if you want to be admin, right? So
Yeah.
you can go for Azure administration, but this is mostly of data engineering, right?
Okay.
So you don't have to learn administration for data engineering. So they are separate admins who are fit for those roles.
Okay.
Yeah.
And
Any
I
other
can
questions?
one more person, Sangu something.
Yeah.
Right. Can you rename yourself, or else can you mute and unmute and speak? Okay, no problem. So that's for today. If you have any questions, you can ask him, or else we'll wind up for the today. And we'll start the classes also like as soon as possible. So I'm planning to start from like Wednesday. You can also I'll call you one by one. Personally, you can also check and let me know. So based on your feedback, then we can plan the session accordingly.